Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at something that's becoming, well, increasingly pervasive in our lives: artificial intelligence.
It's everywhere, isn't it?
It really is. And you might immediately think of AI in terms of self-driving cars or maybe those eerily accurate personalized recommendations you get
Right.
online.
Yeah, the usual suspects.
Exactly. But what about its impact on something as fundamental as how our governments operate and serve us every single day? That's what we're digging into.
A really crucial area, often overlooked.
Our mission in this deep dive is to unpack a stack of fascinating sources, including a pretty in-depth report on AI in governance.
Right.
We want to explore exactly how AI is fundamentally transforming public administration. We're going to delve into everything from sophisticated policing strategies to quite nuanced policy analysis.
There's a lot to cover there.
Get ready to discover the profound potential AI offers to enhance decision-making, streamline operations, and even, elevate the quality of the citizen services you interact with.
The potential is definitely huge.
But it's definitely not just about the opportunities, is it?
No, not at all. We have to be realistic.
This deep dive will also spotlight the critical considerations and complexities. Things like algorithmic bias, protecting your data privacy, and the absolute imperative of transparency and, crucially, human oversight.
These are the big sticking points, really.
We'll show you why governments globally are actively grappling with these challenges, developing really diverse governance frameworks to try and ensure AI is deployed responsibly.
It's a global puzzle they're all trying to solve.
Our goal is to give you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed on this crucial topic, maybe with some surprising facts along the way.
And hopefully keep it interesting.
We'll try. So if you're curious about how AI is reshaping your world through the lens of public service, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's dive in.
Okay.
So, when we talk about AI in the public sector, what exactly are we referring to? It's far more than just simple automation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, much more. In its broadest sense, AI for public governance encompasses a whole range of advanced computing capabilities.
Like what specifically?
Well, we're talking about things like machine learning, ML, natural language processing, NLP, computer vision, and of course the more recent advent of generative AI.
Right.
Its core utility really lies in processing vast, complex data sets, everything from, say, new legislation to intelligence reports, all with the aim to enhance decision-making, streamline operations, and ultimately improve citizen services for you.
And generative AI specifically, that's often mentioned as a huge game changer. What does that bring to the table that's genuinely different from, say, traditional machine learning?
That's a great question. Generative AI significantly enhances data processing, and crucially, it can create new, original content, like text or images.
Okay.
And this allows for much more intuitive, natural language interactions with machines. So it's not just automating a task anymore. It's kind of redefining how you, as a citizen, can interact with government.
How so?
Well, it fosters a more responsive and even personalized experience. Imagine asking a complex question in just plain English and getting a comprehensive answer pulled together from thousands of documents instantly.
That idea of redefining citizen interaction sounds incredibly promising.
Yep.
But can you maybe give us a concrete example? Something that might currently take days, but AI could potentially streamline to minutes.
Sure. Think about applying for, say, a business permit or maybe a social benefit.
Right, often a lengthy process.
Exactly. What might take several back-and-forth emails or phone calls today, AI-powered systems could guide you through with an interactive chat, maybe auto-populating forms based on your previous answers, providing instant status updates.
Okay, so much faster.
It moves from potentially days of waiting and chasing to minutes of guided action.
But does that potential for personalization also raise any concerns about how all that data is used?
Oh, absolutely. It has to. The very power of personalization means more data collection, sometimes sensitive data, which is precisely why strong privacy frameworks and really transparent data handling are paramount. Governments have to be extremely clear about how that personal data is being gathered, used, and critically protected.
That makes sense. So given that governments can sometimes be seen maybe unfairly as slow-moving institutions,
Sometimes fairly.
perhaps, why are they embracing this technology so rapidly now? What's the real impetus?
Well, there's immense pressure. Governments worldwide are facing demands to achieve more, often with fewer resources. They need to improve service quality, increase transparency, reduce costs.
The usual pressures, but amplified.
Exactly. All while tackling increasingly complex societal issues, climate change, public health crises, you name it. AI offers a timely and, frankly, powerful potential solution.
How does it offer that solution?
By automating routine processes first off,
Mm-hmm.
but also by enabling faster, more data-driven policy decisions. It provides a pathway to optimize both efficiency and effectiveness.
Right.
And think about the sheer volume of data government agencies generate. It often creates these huge, big data challenges and bottlenecks,
Just drowning in data.
pretty much.
Yeah.
AI helps conquer these. It can act as a true force multiplier, especially for short-staffed agencies, allowing them to manage increased workloads without necessarily needing huge budget increases.
That idea of AI as a force multiplier isn't just theoretical, is it? The numbers we're seeing are truly staggering.
They are quite eye-opening.
Sources are projecting that the U.S. public sector alone could see, get this, $519 billion in productivity gains from generative AI by 2033.
Wow, it's a massive number.
It's huge. To put that in perspective, that's not just like a minor budget tweak. It suggests a fundamental reshaping of how government services could be conceived and delivered.
It really does. It raises questions not just about efficiency, but about the very structure of the public sector going forward.
So we've seen AI truly impacting the how of government services, making them faster, potentially more personalized. Now let's unpack this further. Where exactly is AI making the biggest splash across different government functions? Maybe starting with enhancing those day-to-day operations and citizen services.
Okay, yeah. One key area you're likely already seeing or will soon is document automation.
Handling the paperwork mountain.
Exactly. AI can efficiently process and classify just vast quantities of documents. It can automate workflows for things like permits, tax filings, social benefits applications.
Stuff that bogs things down.
Right. And it can even help simplify complex legal processes. Generative AI takes it a step further. It can potentially draft financial narratives or even initial policy documents from just a few basic talking points.
Like having a super efficient assistant.
Sort of, yeah. Like having an army of highly efficient, tireless digital interns, maybe.
Huh. Okay. And speaking of protecting resources, how is AI being leveraged to protect taxpayer money from fraud?
Fraud detection is another critical application. Machine learning models are really good at this.
How do they work?
They can rapidly scan massive data sets, often in real time, to identify suspicious patterns or activities in things like public assistance programs, government procurement, tax administration,
Well, catching things humans might miss.
or things that would take humans an impractically long time to find. These systems are already safeguarding billions in public funds that might otherwise be lost to illicit activities.
For us as citizens, how else is AI changing our direct interactions with government? We mentioned personalization.
Right. Well, AI-powered chatbots are probably the most visible change for many people right now.
The little pop-up windows on websites.
Yeah, those. They can offer 247 assistants, answer frequently asked questions instantly, schedule meetings, and even help you fill out complicated forms correctly the first time.
That definitely improves accessibility.
It does, and responsiveness too. Plus, it frees up human staff to focus on the more complex, nuanced issues that truly require human judgment and, frankly, empathy.
So no more waiting on hold for hours just to ask a simple question, ideally.
Right? That's the goal, yes.
Okay, moving beyond administrative efficiency, AI's impact reaches into really critical social sectors like public health and education. What kind of transformations are we seeing there?
Huge potential here. In healthcare, for instance, AI tools are being used to accelerate diagnoses, support clinical research, and automate burdensome administrative processes.
Can you give an example?
Sure. A really notable application involves predictive analytics for disease outbreak prevention.
How does that work?
AI systems can cross-check patient symptoms reported in different locations, look for unusual patterns, and potentially flag an outbreak much earlier than traditional methods.
Wow.
We also saw AI assist in triaging patients during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, and even helping to combat the spread of misinformation online.
And that NHS example you mentioned earlier.
Right, the National Health Service in the UK uses an AI tool that can apparently help detect signs of heart disease from an MRI scan in just 20 seconds.
20 seconds compared to what normally?
Compared to the typical 13 minutes or so it takes for manual analysis by a clinician.
That's incredible. I mean, that really drives home the immediate, tangible impact this technology can have on individual lives, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's not just abstract efficiency gains, it's potentially life-altering speed and accuracy.
And in education, how does AI help perhaps democratize access or close some of those persistent achievement gaps?
Well, organizations like UNESCO are really emphasizing AI's capacity to innovate teaching and learning practices.
In what ways?
It enables personalized learning platforms. Imagine systems that adapt to individual student needs, providing focused help or more challenging material exactly when it's needed.
Tailor education.
Exactly. Tailored to individual pace and style. This helps accelerate progress towards ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education for all, regardless of their background or learning style. It's about meeting each student where they actually are.
So, beyond individual services like health and education, how is AI elevating the very fabric of our communities? Thinking about things like smart cities or more effective social welfare programs.
Yeah, in urban planning, AI is being used to analyze complex data sets, things like population growth trends, traffic patterns, current infrastructure condition.
To make better planning decisions.
Precisely. To facilitate smarter, more sustainable development. Predictive AI can even forecast future demand for essential utilities, like water or electricity, helping plan capacity upgrades proactively.
That seems really useful.
And there are even these AI 3D mapping technologies that can create detailed digital twins of entire cities.
Digital twins, like a simulation.
Kinda, yeah. A dynamic virtual model. This allows for frequent, affordable infrastructure assessments. Think identifying potholes from drone imagery or checking bridge integrity, helping prioritize maintenance, save money, and improve quality of life in the long run.
And for transportation, beyond just planning, what changes are we seeing on the roads and maybe public transit?
Machine learning algorithms are being deployed to optimize traffic flow and manage congestion.
Wow. Smart traffic lights.
Exactly. By dynamically adjusting traffic signal timings based on real-time data feeds. AI also supports predictive maintenance for infrastructure, like knowing when a bridge needs inspection before it becomes critical.
Makes sense.
And it helps users like you plan routes and trips more effectively. Plus, the emergence of autonomous vehicles, like self-driving shuttles in some cities, further exemplifies this shift towards more intelligent transportation systems.
Okay. And shifting to social welfare, how is AI helping optimize those crucial services and ensuring they reach the right people?
AI tools can help identify underserved communities by analyzing demographic and socioeconomic data. They can predict future needs for certain services and help prioritize programs that are likely to have the greatest positive impact.
So targeting resources better.
Yes. And it also plays that vital role we mentioned earlier in detecting fraud within public assistance programs, ensuring those finite resources reach the people who genuinely need them and preventing abuse of the system.
Okay. Now, speaking of areas where AI's impact is particularly acute and perhaps contentious, let's turn our attention to what's maybe one of the most transformative and often debated applications, AI in policing and national security.
Yes, this is definitely an area of profound transformation and also significant debate.
So in policing, what does AI usage look like?
One major application is predictive policing. This is where machine learning algorithms analyze historical crime data, sometimes combined with other inputs like social media activity, CCTV footage, biometric data, even weather patterns.
To do what? Predict crime?
Essentially, yes, to forecast when and where certain types of crimes are statistically more likely to occur. The idea is to shift law enforcement from being purely reactive to being more proactive.
That sounds powerful, but also potentially problematic. We'll get to the bias concerns later, I assume.
Absolutely. It's a key area of concern we need to address.
And what about surveillance capabilities? That sounds like it involves processing just immense amounts of data.
It does. AI-driven video analytics are crucial here. They can process vast amounts of surveillance footage from CCTV cameras, for example, flagging anomalies or specific events for human review.
Things a human couldn't possibly watch in real time.
Exactly. It's impossible for humans to monitor thousands of feeds constantly. Other technologies like facial recognition, body-worn cameras capturing footage, automated license plate readers, and even gunshot detection systems enable near real-time tracking and analysis of events.
And beyond surveillance.
Computer vision is also used for things like faster fingerprint matching, assisting in DNA analysis, and even trying to identify suspicious behavior patterns in crowds, though that's also quite controversial.
What about assisting officers directly with their day-to-day tasks?
Yes, natural language processing, or NLP, is starting to enhance police report writing by potentially drafting initial reports based on analysis of body camera footage and maybe real-time officer narration, saving officers time on paperwork.
Okay.
NLP can also be used to review body camera footage automatically, perhaps identifying examples of police professionalism for training, or flagging potentially problematic interactions for supervisor intervention.
Interesting. And robotics.
Autonomous robotics, like drones, are increasingly employed for accident reconstruction, arson investigations, and sometimes even as first responders in high-risk situations like bomb threats or standoffs.
Right.
And basic process automation leverages AI in things like computer-aided dispatch systems to optimize officer deployment, or in court reminder systems to try and reduce failures to appear.
Now, what's fascinating here, especially on the national security front, is the reported reliance on commercial AI firms. What are the implications of that?
That's a really significant point. For national security, staying ahead with AI is seen as crucial for maintaining a strategic advantage.
So governments are partnering with big tech.
Yes. The U.S. Department of Defense, the DoD, for example, is actively accelerating AI adoption through partnerships with leading frontier AI companies. Names like Anthropic, Google, OpenAI, xAI are often mentioned.
What's the goal of these partnerships?
They aim to develop advanced AI capabilities in something called agentic AI workflows.
Agentic, what does that mean?
Think of AI systems that can essentially take on a series of tasks, plan their own actions, maybe learn and correct themselves to achieve a broader goal across various defense mission areas. It's a step beyond simple task automation.
That sounds powerful, but also raises questions.
It absolutely does. It brings up important questions about national control versus reliance on private companies, potential vendor lock-in, and how these powerful capabilities inherently intersect and sometimes conflict with concerns about citizens' rights, privacy, and basic civil liberties.
So we've seen AI impacting the how of government efficiency service delivery. But it's not just about delivery, it's also fundamentally reshaping the very policies that govern our society. AI isn't just helping deliver services faster, it seems to be profoundly influencing the core of governance, the policy cycle itself.
Indeed. That's a really insightful way to put it. AI is emerging as a genuinely powerful tool across the entire policymaking and implementation process.
Signifying a shift away from.
It signifies a potential shift away from, well, intuition-based or perhaps limited data policymaking towards a more evidence-based, predictive, and ideally more agile approach.
Bringing more data to the table.
Exactly. Bringing a level of data analysis and predictive modeling into the policy room that was previously impossible, at least impractical.
So how does it help governments identify pressing issues before they become full-blown crises at that early agenda-setting stage?
AI can support policymakers in identifying critical emerging challenges through sophisticated analyses of large data sets, sometimes combined with crowdsourced information or sentiment analysis from public discourse.
Is there an example of this in action?
Yeah, one example often cited is Australia's Department of Health and Human Services. They reportedly used advanced text analysis on anonymized historical hospital triage data.
To look for what?
To detect unusual patterns of illnesses being reported, potentially enabling earlier public health warnings about outbreaks compared to traditional surveillance methods.
And when it comes to actually drafting new policies, can AI literally help write laws or regulations?
Well, maybe not write the final text autonomously, but certainly assist. In the policy formulation stage, AI provides evidence-based insights that help craft more effective policies.
How?
It can estimate the likely impacts of various economic policies, for instance. It can project costs and benefits of different options and help accurately identify the specific populations a policy will likely affect.
Are there specific tools for this?
There are frameworks being developed. The AI economist, for example, uses AI and deep reinforcement learning techniques to simulate and assess different tax policy designs. And yes, generative AI tools like ChatGPT and similar models can quickly generate initial policy drafts or summaries by referencing thousands of existing municipal examples from around the world.
Giving policymakers a massive head start, potentially.
A starting point. Definitely. It can accelerate the drafting process.
Okay, so AI helps identify problems and draft solutions. But what about evaluating if policies are actually working or if they're having unintended negative consequences? That seems crucial.
Absolutely crucial. And AI enables a much more rigorous, data-intensive, and potentially near real-time evaluation of public programs. This moves far beyond traditional, often slower evaluation methods that might take years to yield results.
What kind of techniques does it use?
Machine learning offers new techniques, like something called causal forests. These can help estimate how different subpopulations respond to specific policy interventions.
So not just the average effect.
Exactly. Moving beyond just the average effect to identify who benefits most, or perhaps who is inadvertently harmed by a policy, it allows for much more nuanced understanding.
That seems incredibly valuable.
It is. AI can also significantly improve what's called counterfactual analysis,
I mean,
predicting what would happen to a group if they hadn't received a particular intervention or been subject to a specific policy. This is incredibly helpful for evaluating complex initiatives like climate change policies or large-scale public health campaigns like vaccinations, where traditional control groups are difficult or impossible to establish.
that's a fascinating point, evaluating the what if. So the ability to rapidly test, evaluate, and then refine policies rather than waiting years for impact studies sounds like a potential game changer for governance.
It really is. A key advantage is precisely that capacity for much faster modification and evaluation cycles.
Building confidence before going big.
Just exactly. Improving confidence in a policy's effectiveness before launching programs at massive scale. This enables governments, ideally, to become true learning organizations, continuously optimizing public programs based on real-time data and predictive insights. It's like a supercharged feedback loop.
Okay, let's unpack this next part carefully. While AI offers this immense promise, its widespread adoption clearly introduces a complex array of ethical, privacy, and bias concerns that demand really careful consideration. It's definitely not a silver bullet, right?
That's absolutely right. Not even close to a silver bullet. If AI systems aren't meticulously designed, trained, and managed, they can inadvertently perpetuate or even amplify existing societal biases.
Leading to unfair outcomes.
Yes, leading to unfair and inequitable outcomes. And this is particularly problematic in those sensitive areas we've touched on: law enforcement, welfare benefits, healthcare decisions, hiring processes where algorithmic decisions can have profound, life-altering impacts on individuals' lives.
Where does this bias usually come from? Is it the algorithm itself being biased?
Often, the root cause lies within the training data itself. The data used to teach the AI might be unrepresentative of the population, it might reflect historical discrimination, or it might contain existing societal prejudices that the AI then learns and replicates, sometimes at scale.
Could you give us some real-world examples? Hearing where this has actually happened really drives the point home, I think.
Sure. Unfortunately, there are quite a few documented cases. In policing, as we hinted at, facial recognition technology has been linked to wrongful arrests,
Why?
because some algorithms have been shown to struggle more with identifying diverse facial features accurately, particularly for individuals with darker skin tones, leading to higher error rates and misidentifications, disproportionately affecting Black individuals.
That's serious.
Very. And predictive policing algorithms have also faced criticism for potential bias, sometimes leading to increased police presence and arrests in historically over-policed, often less advantaged neighborhoods, while potentially overlooking crime elsewhere. It can create a feedback loop. Even major companies like IBM reportedly stopped offering their facial recognition tech for mass surveillance due to these exact concerns.
Okay, what about other areas? Healthcare.
Yes, in healthcare, there was a widely used algorithm in the U.S., reportedly affecting decisions for over 200 million patients.
Wow. What did it do wrong?
It significantly favored white patients when predicting who needed extra care coordination. The problem was it used past healthcare spending as a proxy for healthcare need.
And the issue there is.
Black patients, who historically have faced barriers and often spend less on healthcare due to systemic issues, were wrongly flagged by the algorithm as being lower risk, even when their actual medical conditions indicated a higher need for care.
So the data itself reflected inequality.
Precisely. The proxy measure embedded the bias.
What about hiring?
In hiring, Amazon's internal AI recruitment tool became quite famous or infamous. It was scrapped after it was found to be downgrading resumes that contained words associated with women, like mentioning women's chess club captain.
Yeah.
And it penalized graduates of all women's colleges.
Because it learned from past hiring data.
Exactly. It learned biases present in historical hiring patterns. LinkedIn's AI job recommendation systems have also faced similar allegations of potentially perpetuating gender biases in suggesting candidates or jobs.
Okay, and financial services.
In financial services, the Apple Card algorithm faced reports alleging it offered significantly lower credit limits to women compared to their male spouses, even when they had similar or even better credit scores. And student loan companies using AI models for risk assessment have also faced allegations of creating disparate impacts on marginalized borrowers.
Even generative AI isn't immune.
No, even the generative AI we use to create images. Popular tools like DALL-E 2 and Stable Diffusion were shown early on that when prompted for terms like CEO or engineer, they overwhelmingly produced images of white males.
And prompts for other roles.
Prompts like housekeeper or nurse primarily generated images of women or people of color, directly reflecting the stereotypes and biases present in the vast data sets they were trained on.
Wow. Just hearing those examples laid out, or like that policing, healthcare, hiring, credit, even image generation, it really paints a stark picture, doesn't it?
It does.
It shows how deeply these biases can embed themselves and the very real world consequences they have. It's absolutely not just a theoretical problem. It's impacting millions of lives right now.
That's the critical takeaway.
Which raises this hugely important question. With all this data being fed into these systems, sensitive data often, how are our privacy and security actually being protected?
That's the flip side of the data coin. The effectiveness of many AI systems often relies on processing these vast amounts of personal information, sometimes very sensitive information.
And that raises concerns.
Inherently, yes. It raises significant concerns regarding data security, the risk of breaches, and individual privacy. It transforms privacy from being purely an individual concern to a systemic national security and public trust issue.
What are the primary risks we should be most aware of on that front?
Well, key privacy risks include things like the collection of sensitive data, perhaps without truly explicit and informed consent. There's the potential for data exfiltration, which is basically theft by hackers, and accidental data leakage. And of course, the dangers of unchecked surveillance capabilities enabled by AI.
And the complexity of AI makes it worse.
Yes, the inherent black box nature of many complex AI systems, where the internal decision-making logic is opaque even sometimes to the developers, only exacerbates these concerns. It makes it incredibly challenging to audit how personal data is being used or to allow individuals to meaningfully challenge decisions made about them.
Have there been any notable incidents specifically in the public sector that highlight these risks?
Unfortunately, yes. Data breaches happen. The National Public Data, or NPD, breach, for example, exposed sensitive data, including Social Security numbers and email addresses of millions of individuals. This highlighted risks not just from direct hacking, but also from things like data scraping and sometimes just poor data protection practices by organizations handling public data.
And surveillance concerns.
There are ongoing concerns over AI surveillance, echoing those fears about data sharing practices between agencies or with private companies. Reports have surfaced, for instance, about the Department of Homeland Security, the DHS, reportedly monitoring the social media posts of visa and green card applicants.
Raising free speech questions.
Exactly, raising legitimate questions about privacy and freedom of expression. And even those seemingly helpful AI chatbots used by governments raise potential concerns about unauthorized access to sensitive user data if they aren't secured properly.
So, given all these complexities, the embedded biases, the significant privacy risks, what does this all mean for maintaining public trust and ensuring genuine accountability as AI becomes more central to how government functions?
It means that for AI to be truly beneficial, and perhaps more importantly, accepted in governance, it absolutely must operate within a robust framework of transparency, explainability, and meaningful human oversight.
Public trust is paramount, then.
It's everything. Public trust is paramount. And you, as a citizen, rightly expect and should demand clear communication about how your data is being used and how these AI systems that affect you actually operate.
What does transparency look like in practice?
Transparency requires providing meaningful, easy-to-understand information about the data sources used, the key factors the AI considers, the processes involved, and the underlying logic behind AI-driven decisions. Some governments are starting to establish things like open registers of the public algorithms they use to try and foster this.
And the role of humans in all this. Are we just aiming for perfect algorithms, or is there always a need for people in the loop?
Crucially, human oversight remains indispensable, especially for AI use cases that impact safety, fundamental rights, or involve significant agency decisions with major consequences.
So humans need to be able to step in.
Absolutely. Mechanisms must be in place to allow for timely human intervention. Humans need the ability to override, to repair, or, if necessary, to safely decommission AI systems if they risk causing undue harm or are simply not working as intended.
It's a balancing act, then.
It's an ongoing attempt, really, to reconcile the potential efficiency gains of AI with fundamental democratic values like fairness, accountability, and human dignity. The future of AI and governance isn't about replacing humans entirely, not at all. It's about designing systems where human judgment and ethical considerations remain absolutely paramount.
Human in the loop, or human on the loop, as they say.
Precisely. Keeping humans central to the process.
It's clear governments everywhere are grappling with these challenges, and as we've seen, they're doing so in quite different ways. Let's look at that global landscape. How are different nations and international bodies approaching AI governance? Who's trying to set the standards?
Well, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, has played a really pioneering role here. They developed the OECD AI principles, first adopted back in 2019, and revised just recently in 2024.
And what are those principles?
They represent the first major intergovernmental standard on AI. They aim to promote AI that is innovative and trustworthy, but also respects human rights and democratic values. Think of it as a foundational ethical compass for the world.
What are some of those key principles that guide their approach? Can you give us a few examples?
Sure. Key principles include things like ensuring AI systems align with human rights and democratic values, upholding the rule of law, ensuring non-discrimination, protecting privacy. Then there's transparency and explainability.
Which we just discussed.
Exactly. Providing that meaningful, easy-to-understand information about how AI systems work. Another is robustness, security, and safety, making sure systems function appropriately, are secure against threats, and importantly, can be overridden if they become harmful.
And accountability.
Yes, accountability is crucial, ensuring there's traceability for the datasets used, the processes followed, and the decisions made by the AI. The OECD supports policymakers with tools like the OECD.AI Policy Observatory, which tracks AI policies globally.
But these are just principles, right? Not laws.
Correct. A key point is that these OECD principles are non-binding soft law. They provide guidance and promote consensus, but they highlight the ongoing challenge of translating these important ethical guidelines into concrete, enforceable regulations across different countries.
Okay, so the OECD provides the ethical compass. The European Union, on the other hand, has taken a very different and quite pioneering step with actual regulation, hasn't it? What's the EU AI Act all about, and why is it considered such a landmark?
Yes. The EU AI Act is widely regarded as the world's first comprehensive, legally binding regulatory framework specifically for artificial intelligence. It's a really big deal.
And how does it approach regulation? Is it one size fits all?
No, its core feature is a risk-based approach. It applies different rules and requirements based on the perceived level of risk an AI system poses.
So it categorizes AI.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
The EU isn't just saying AI is good or AI is bad. They're taking a more nuanced approach, analyzing exactly where the potential for harm is greatest and regulating accordingly. It's like building safety codes, different rules for skyscrapers than for garden sheds.
Okay, that analogy helps. Can you break down those risk levels for us? What gets banned, what's highly regulated, and what just needs, say, transparency?
Certainly. At the very top, they define unacceptable risk. These are AI systems considered to pose a clear threat to people's safety, livelihoods, and fundamental rights.
And these are
outright banned in the EU. Examples include things like government-run social scoring systems, AI used for manipulative subliminal techniques that could cause harm, and most uses of real-time remote biometric identification, like facial recognition, by law enforcement in publicly accessible spaces, with very narrow exceptions.
Okay, banned. What's the next level down?
Next is high risk. These are systems that pose potentially serious risks to health, safety, or fundamental rights.
What falls into that category?
It's quite broad. It includes AI components used in critical infrastructures, like transport or energy grids. AI used in education, maybe for exam scoring. Employment tools, like CV sorting software. AI used in accessing essential public services, like credit scoring systems or determining eligibility for benefits. And certain uses in law enforcement and migration control.
And these aren't banned, but face strict rules.
Exactly. High-risk systems are subject to really strict obligations before they can even be put on the market or used in the EU. This includes rigorous risk assessment and mitigation, ensuring high-quality training datasets to minimize bias, detailed activity logging, robust technical documentation, mandatory human oversight provisions, and requirements for high levels of accuracy and cybersecurity.
A lot of hoops to jump through.
Definitely. And finally, there's limited risk. This category primarily addresses transparency needs.
Meaning?
For example, if you're interacting with an AI system like a chatbot, it must inform you that you're interacting with a machine. And content generated by AI, like deepfakes or AI-written text, generally needs to be identifiable and clearly labeled as artificially generated or manipulated.
So people know what they're dealing with.
Precisely. It's about preventing deception.
That sounds incredibly comprehensive, maybe the most ambitious attempt globally so far. But despite its pioneering nature, I imagine implementing such a wide-ranging law isn't easy. What are some of the hurdles the EU faces in actually making this work?
You're absolutely right. It faces significant implementation challenges. It's a huge undertaking.
Such as?
Well, There are potential overlaps and coordination issues with existing EU regulations, like the GDPR for data protection. There are still some unclear rules, particularly around reusing personal data for training the big generative AI models. And there's the ongoing need to harmonize this AI-specific regulation with other legal acts across various sectors, like healthcare or finance. Making it all fit together seamlessly is complex.
Okay, so the EU has its comprehensive risk-based law. How do individual nations outside the EU, like the US and Canada, compare in their approaches? Are they following the EU's lead or are they carving their own paths?
They're largely carving their own paths, showing quite a bit of divergence. The United States, for example, has primarily adopted a voluntary framework.
Voluntary.
Yes, the main guidance comes from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST. They developed the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, the AI-RMF.
How was that developed?
It was developed collaboratively, involving input from both the private sector and public sector stakeholders. Its aim is to improve the trustworthiness of AI systems throughout their lifecycle, design, development, deployment, use. It provides guidance on identifying, measuring, and managing risks related to bias, privacy, security, and other trustworthiness dimensions.
But it's voluntary. What are the challenges with that kind of approach? It sounds less prescriptive, maybe less forceful than the EU's act.
It is less prescriptive. And the challenges include the inherent difficulty in consistently measuring AI risks, which can be volatile and context-dependent. Defining what constitutes an acceptable level of risk tolerance can be tricky. Prioritizing which risks to address most urgently is complex. And ensuring that risk management is truly integrated across the entire AI lifecycle, not just an afterthought, is hard.
Other issues.
Issues also arise from managing risks associated with third-party components, software, hardware, data that are often incorporated into AI systems. And again, that fundamental black box challenge makes full risk assessment difficult for some complex models. Success relies heavily on organizations choosing to adopt and rigorously apply the framework.
Okay, so the US is more voluntary. What about Canada? What's their strategy?
Canada has implemented a somewhat more prescriptive approach, at least for its federal government operations, with its directive on automated decision-making.
What does that cover?
This national directive applies specifically to automated decision systems used by federal government departments when making administrative decisions that affect client citizens interacting with the government.
And its goal.
Its core objective is to ensure that the government's use of AI is compatible with established administrative law principles like transparency, accountability, procedural fairness, and the possibility for human recourse.
What's a key requirement of Canada's directive that makes it perhaps more hands-on than the US approach?
A key requirement is a mandatory completion of an algorithmic impact assessment, or AIA, before deploying an automated decision system.
What does that assessment do?
It classifies the potential impact level of the planned AI system on clients, rights, or interests ranging from minimal impact up to very high impact. Based on this assessed impact level, specific requirements are triggered.
Such as?
These can include requirements for peer review of the system, providing public notice about the use of AI, ensuring there are mechanisms for human intervention or appeal, and providing specific training for employees who operate or oversee the system. It's a proactive step to assess and mitigate risks before deployment within government itself.
So when we look at these quite different national approaches, the EU's comprehensive regulation, the US's voluntary framework, Canada's government-focused directive, what's the big picture takeaway from this diverse global landscape of AI governance? What does this divergence mean?
Well, this divergence could certainly lead to a fragmented global AI governance landscape. That makes it potentially harder and more costly for AI developers and companies that operate internationally to navigate different rules and requirements in different markets.
A compliance headache.
Exactly. And it really reinforces that call from the OECD and others for greater international cooperation to develop more interoperable AI policies and common terminology. The goal is to facilitate international collaboration and prevent a potential race to the bottom, where countries might lower regulatory standards or safeguards in an attempt to attract AI investment, potentially at the expense of safety or ethics.
The integration of AI into public governance is clearly incredibly promising. We've seen that. But it's equally clear that it's not without significant hurdles, both ethical and practical. What are the key implementation challenges governments face right now when trying to actually make this happen?
That's a critical question. The successful adoption of AI isn't solely a technological challenge. In many ways, it's fundamentally a human and organizational one.
How so?
Well, first, Integrating sophisticated AI into existing, often quite old, legacy government IT systems requires very careful strategic planning to minimize operational disruption and ensure compatibility. That's a technical hurdle, but a big one.
Okay.
But perhaps an even bigger barrier often lies in the cultural and skill gaps within the public sector workforce itself.
Resistance to change?
Sometimes, yes. Public sector leaders and employees may understandably resist incorporating new AI-driven processes into workflows they've used for years. There could be fear of job displacement or just skepticism about the technology. And the average age of the workforce in some public sectors, like the U.S. federal government, where it's around 47 years, might sometimes contribute to making broad cultural change a bit harder to implement quickly.
So it's not just about buying the shiny tech, but really getting people ready for the tech, comfortable with it, and on board with using it effectively.
Exactly. That's spot on. For AI adoption to be truly successful and sustainable, the workforce, the people actually using these tools, must feel confident and supported.
What does that require?
It necessitates comprehensive, agency-wide training programs tailored to different roles. It requires developing shared competency frameworks so everyone understands the basics and the implications. And it often needs strategic partnerships with universities, with private tech initiatives to build robust talent pipelines and bring in needed expertise.
And if governments don't invest in the people side?
If governments fail to invest adequately in their human capital alongside the technology, then the promised benefits of AI, the efficiency gains, the better services simply may not materialize. The AI can be brilliant on paper, but if the people using it aren't prepared or willing, it won't fulfill its potential.
And what about building and maintaining public trust? We've mentioned it several times as being so crucial throughout this deep dive. It really feels like the linchpin for successful AI in government.
It absolutely is. You could argue public trust is the single most indispensable prerequisite for the widespread and legitimate adoption of AI in government.
Why is it so critical?
Because you, as a citizen, increasingly and rightly expect transparency regarding how your data is used and how these powerful AI systems operate, especially when they make decisions that affect your life.
And the risk if that trust is broken.
The erosion of public trust due to AI failures, things like high-profile cases of algorithmic bias leading to discrimination, or major privacy breaches, poses a significant threat. It undermines the democratic legitimacy of using AI in governance at all. If people don't trust it, they'll resist it, they'll demand it be removed, and the potential benefits could be lost entirely.
So what absolutely needs to be done by governments to cultivate and maintain that fragile public trust? What are the key actions?
Governments must be proactive. They need to define clear, citizen-centered goals for all AI initiatives. They need to constantly ask, how does this actually benefit the public? And ensure that AI use cases consistently reflect and uphold core democratic values like fairness, equity, and accountability.
Anticipating problems.
Yes, it's imperative to anticipate where automated decisions could potentially harm vulnerable communities and to implement robust safeguards before deployment, not just reactively after harm occurs.
And communication.
Proactive, clear, and accessible communication is essential. Governments need to talk openly about AI's capabilities, but also its limitations and, crucially, the safeguards they have put in place. This helps manage expectations and foster public confidence.
So it's more than just following the rules.
Much more. It requires moving beyond mere legal compliance towards actively cultivating a culture of ethical AI development and deployment throughout government, a culture that genuinely prioritizes human rights, societal well-being, and democratic principles, sometimes even over pure efficiency gains. That's the real challenge and the real necessity.
We've taken quite a journey today, a real deep dive into how artificial intelligence is truly revolutionizing public administration. We've seen it streamlining daily operations and citizen services, enhancing public health and urban planning, and even fundamentally transforming areas like policing and national security.
We've definitely seen the profound potential AI offers, but we've also spent significant time wrestling with those critical challenges: the risks of algorithmic bias, the constant concerns around data privacy, and that indispensable need for transparency and robust human oversight.
We also explored the diverse global landscape of AI governance, didn't we? From the non-binding ethical compass provided by the OECD AI principles
to the pioneering, comprehensive, risk-based regulation of the EU AI Act and those varied national strategies we see in places like the US and Canada.
It's clear that while the specific approaches differ quite a bit, that collective effort to responsibly integrate AI into governance is a global imperative, though one that's still very much in flux, it seems.
Absolutely. The rule book is still being written in many ways.
So, what does this all mean for you, the individual citizen listening to this? As AI continues to evolve, becoming even more deeply integrated into the fabric of our society and our interactions with the state.
Its ultimate success in actually serving the public interest isn't just about how clever the technology itself is.
Right. It hinges fundamentally on a collective commitment from governments, developers, and citizens to ethical design principles, to clear and open communication about how it's being used, and to robust mechanisms for public accountability and redress when things inevitably go wrong.
Which really raises an important final question for all of us to consider. As AI continues its rapid advance and reshapes how our governments function, how will you, as an informed citizen, actively contribute to shaping the ongoing conversation? The conversation about how we ensure AI truly empowers humanity to thrive within a democratic framework, rather than potentially detracting from it.
That's a powerful thought to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you feel more informed and, perhaps like me, a little more curious and maybe even a bit more watchful about the future of AI and governance.